driven. Adam, thank you so much for coming on the Peace, Power, and Purpose podcast tonight, brother.
Man, thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here. But let's go back to one little thing you did talk about. You drill sergeant, and I was a drill sergeant, but once a drill sergeant, always a drill sergeant. So with that being said, why is your cover on inside? I don't understand. There are standards and discipline, yet you are not living the standard. Why? What's the problem?
Because Mr. Nick Lavery.
No, I don't need an answer. No. Positional attention, move. Friendly rest position.
I love it, man. I love it. I just got goosebumps, dude. Yeah, so we had Marine Corps drill instructors when I was in OCS, man, and I think that was one of the most terrifying sights, was to wake up and to see 9 DIs coming towards the barracks, and we're like, oh shit, here we go. It was fun though. I actually made pretty good friends with 2 of them after I graduated.
They're a different standard. I will commend them, the DIs. There's like that voice you have to learn. Yeah, they must go to the DI school for that, because we go to drill sergeant school, they go to the DI school. It's like, you must have to learn that voice, because they all have that raspy voice. I don't know where it comes from. I couldn't do it, but
I knew the cover was coming up, man. I was waiting on that. I knew it was coming. I knew it was coming. Well, Adam, man, thank you again for joining me tonight. And I want to just start from the beginning. Let's talk about, where'd you grow up, man? Where are you from?
I am from the suburbs of Chicago. So, and that usually my Chicago comes out when I say the word Chicago. My wife messes with me all the time with that. But suburbs of Chicago. Think of like all those 80s movies. Was it like 16 Candles, all those? That's the area I grew up in. Like I grew up in those, that was my stomping grounds. That was the life I lived in the late 80s and early 90s, just being a kid in the Middle East, in the Midwest. There we go.
So is that Cubs territory or White Sox territory?
So I would say this, it's my family is split. I don't care. I'm not a big sports guy. I don't sports ball very much. But I guess if I had to pick, I would say Cubs, because I thought Cubs games were way more fun to go to. I lived downtown in Chicago for many years, and it's just way more fun to go to a Cubs game. And there's a high likelihood that back in the day you wouldn't get robbed if you went to a Cubs game. A Sox game, you might. So
yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, because they used to have a nickname for the White Sox, like the something bad boy. I forgot. I used to watch. We had WGN growing up here in Nashville, so I watched the Cubs in the summer when I was out of school because they were on TV all the time, and then every once in a while we see White Sox games, and Michael Jordan, when I was in high school, played for the White Sox. So I actually got to see him at spring training down in Sarasota when I was a kid. I played baseball, so we were always watching it on TV. But so growing up, you weren't really did you not play sports, I guess, growing up?
I did play sports. And when I was young, I wasn't. I think now it's this kind of thing I strayed away from for lots of reasons. I think there's some reasons now. And honestly, I'm so focused on what I'm doing. I don't have the time for it. And that's what it comes down to. But no, I grew up playing football my whole life. Bears fan as a kid. I played high school football. I tried to play college football. That didn't work out, unfortunately. That's kind of where my whole story starts.
Okay.
But yeah.
What about like growing up? What about going to church? Was that a regular thing in your family?
It was for a little bit. I would say that we went to church regularly from like ages probably 7 or 8 until I was probably in like high school or so, and then it kind of drifted away. But my parents, they did instill, Christian beliefs, and we did do that for a long time. But I would say when I got a little older, my parents started straying. I couldn't even tell you why to this day, but we did start drifting away from the church, not in a negative way. It just became not a thing anymore. And to this day, I guess I really couldn't tell you why.
Yeah. Well, and a lot of times too, like life, especially if you're playing sports and you got other activities going on, it can be hard to kind of maintain that routine. As I think, at least as you get older, like in your teenage years and you're driving, you're kind of doing your own thing, it can be challenging. So you mentioned you wanted to play college football. So when you got out of high school, which way did life take you?
So in high school, I was really good. And I thought, hey, I'm this big fish in a small pond, all state, doing my thing. I'm going to play college football. And the problem was I was a 5'10" middle linebacker that was good at the high school level. But when I got to play with even at Division III, like some of these schools you'd go to, no, it wasn't happening. Like you think you're good until you actually match up with someone that actually is on a higher echelon, higher level than you. And it just didn't work out. Unfortunately, I was trying to play at NIU. I was going to make a practice team. Juice wasn't worth the squeeze to me, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And it just didn't happen. And I think that's kind of when I had a first, I call it an identity crisis after that. And I didn't know what to do with my life. And I kind of down spiraled. And, when you're a high school athlete, you kind of eat whatever you want. You lift heavy. Well, I kept eating whatever I wanted, but I stopped lifting. And I actually gained in a year after high school 100 pounds.
Wow.
Big boy. I was
So do you think
280, yeah, 280,
you think
275.
you think was there some depression in there that kind of made you comfort yourself with food because you weren't playing college football, you think?
I think I did. I think it was the first time in my life I lost what I thought was my identity. You know, at the
Yeah.
time, my identity was football. I'm going to play college football. That's what I'm going to do. And I no longer had the identity. And I think, yeah, that was a coping mechanism. And I became lazy. And within a year, I remember looking in the mirror and just looking at myself. I had a 42-inch waist.
Wow.
And I was just like, what am I doing to myself? I was just like pure disgust. And I was like, I'm 19, almost 19 years old, and I'm ready, 42-inch waist and 275 pounds. What's going to happen when I'm like 42? And I'm 42 now. And I'm like, and it was that first realization, like, I have control of my life. And I just started studying fitness, and I started getting into nutrition, and I started learning as much as I could. And I went a year without cheating and just ate clean as possible, good, wholesome meals, nothing crazy, no crazy supplements. That's back when like pre-workouts were first starting to come out back in the day, like the NO Explode, and did a little bit of
What?
that stuff. But really, it was just
Yeah.
hard work, working out every day. And I lost 100 pounds in a year. And that
Wow.
motivated me to get into the fitness world. And became a personal trainer in downtown Chicago after that. It was like, that was like my passion, my new identity.
Yeah. Yeah. What year was that?
2005? Yeah, 2005.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was kind of the time when functional fitness, CrossFit was kind of because it was late to the
Yes.
game in here in Tennessee because I first heard about it in '05 and was like, I'm not doing that. And then, of course, I joined the military and everybody's doing it. I'm like, well, I guess I should have done CrossFit. But
Yeah, CrossFit was starting. That was
yeah,
when CrossFit, especially downtown Chicago, the CrossFit gyms were coming up. It was getting popular. It was a new hotness. I would train like a bodybuilder because
yeah,
that was my next identity was, being a personal trainer, being a bodybuilder. I was gonna, I love, that was my one sport. And to this day, it's the one sport I still follow is
nice.
pro bodybuilding. And I just love the sport aspect of it. I love the whole like building yourself up and trying the
Hmm.
symmetry of it. And the sport's definitely evolved into a weird way now, but at the end of the day, like that was my next identity was I'm going to be a bodybuilder.
So did you have like any certain bodybuilders that you kind of, I don't want to use the word idolize, but kind of like followed, maybe wanted to be like their, because I can remember a lot of guys like when I was in college in early 2000s, like Rich Piana. I love that
But
dude,
yeah,
man. Like that guy was amazing. Yeah,
Rich,
yesterday was his anniversary too, believe it
he
or not.
was. I used to follow him on social medias and watch his content. I loved Rich because he didn't follow the narrative of typical body. He realized, he wasn't going to play the game anymore, and he did it the way he wanted to. And I respect him for it. I think if he just would have lived his life a little more virtuous, he'd still be around to this day.
Yeah. Yeah.
Unfortunately, he just, he made about too much money too fast with made bad life choices. But I
Hmm.
would say back in the day, I was a big Jay Cutler fan,
Okay.
but really Kai Green. Kai Green was the most underrated
Oh, wow.
bodybuilder. I think he should have been Mr. Olympia many times over and was robbed. But I was a big Kai Green fan. And to this, I've met Jay Cutler in passing one time in Vegas.
Nice.
So that was kind of cool. But Jay Cutler was definitely someone I looked.
And for the people that are watching and listening, we're talking about Jay Cutler, the
But yeah,
bodybuilder, not Jay Cutler, the quarterback. I think he played for the Bears that
he
lives in
did.
Franklin,
He did.
Tennessee now. But yeah, he played at Vanderbilt when I was in college. So, but yeah, we're talking about the real Jay Cutler, like the bodybuilder, Mr. Olympia. Yeah. So just for
Exactly.
clarification for our audience tonight. So you get into bodybuilding, you're doing personal training. Is it so you feel like this is your new identity? Do you feel like at that point in your life you still feel like something's missing? Like there's still more out there?
No, I think I was really young and arrogant, and I was making too much money because I was working my butt off, and I didn't have any. I was living downtown Chicago. I literally could see at the time the Sears Tower from my condo building.
Wow.
I was living it up. I was making stupid money for my age. The problem
Yeah.
was I was spending still more money than I was making, and I was back in 2005. I mean, I was breaking near six figures, so I was making good money. But the problem was I still went in debt that year. Like I was still spending more,
Hmm.
going out. I wouldn't say abusing alcohol to the fullest, but I was drinking a lot. I was abusing substances at that point. I got into just the wrong crowds. You're young, downtown Chicago,
Hmm.
party all day, go back the next day, train clients again,
Yeah.
and it was just not living a good life. And that went on for a while until 2008 happened. And if y'all remember, the whole bubble happened. I trained in the financial district in Chicago. So
Oh,
guess
wow.
what?
Yeah.
The
You're
luxury
done.
item of being a personal trainer went away quick. So I
Yeah.
went from making all this money to like having it cut by like 70%.
Wow.
And, my lifestyle didn't change. And it was that was really kind of what, once again, my identity was taken from me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
That's wild, man. I was just thinking like I was training in '05 too. I mean, I was already kind of shifting gears by '08, but that's funny that we're both training in 2005. So that happens, like, and I want to ask you this, man, like, most people that come on the show have some kind of, family legacy when it comes to the military. Like they either grew up in it or their grandfather or somebody served. What drew you from being this rock star trainer? Now the market falls out. Now you're starting to shift gears again. There's two identity shifts. Like, what led you to the Army?
So at that point, it was kind of a real like hit to my ego because I had to move back home with my parents
Wow.
because back in the suburbs of Chicago, I just couldn't, I was still freelance training, but not making the money I was doing. I couldn't support myself. So I'd moved back with my parents. At that time, my little brother, right out of high school, he's 4 years younger than I, right out of high school, joined the Air Force. He was the first one. No one else in our family was really military. He'd made that choice that's what he was doing. So he was ready in the Air Force, doing his thing, loving life. And I'm the older brother and I'm living at home with mommy and daddy still with no direction, no career, no degree, no nothing, but I can train people. And that was, and I loved being a personal trainer, but like, it's a tough job sometimes. And that,
It's
like,
very tough,
especially when the economy goes bad, sometimes you're the first thing people cut and it's a luxury item for most people.
You put it best. It's a luxury, not a necessity, man. And it probably will always be that way.
Yeah. So that was like, what am I going to do with my life?
Yeah.
And I pondered that for a year because I had, once again, my identity was taken from me. And I'm just, what am I going to do? And then at this point, I'm 20, almost 28 years old. I'm not a young kid anymore. And I'm just like, what's my life? So I was like, okay, I talked to my brother. I've contemplated for about 6 months. And one day I walk into the recruiter station, like the good old, all the branches are there. I walk in and I realized, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to join the Air Force. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to be an Air Force medic. So I was like, you know what should I do? I'll be in the medical field. Maybe I want to go to PA school eventually, but medical, right? Personal trainer, it makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I walk into the Air Force recruiter station and they sit down. They're super nice. They have the latte for you in the Air Force. No. And they tell me, hey, it's awesome you want to join, but no, we can't take you. I'm like, what'd I do wrong? They're like, you're too old. At the time, I was too old to enlist.
No, I didn't think
so
of that.
it was a blow. I'm like, whoa, I'm too old to enlist in the Air Force. So I walk out and, it's one of those recruiter stations when you walk out, there's all the other doors there.
Oh, they're waiting for you. Yeah.
What am I going to do? So then I look over at the Navy and I'm like, hey, no offense. I'm not a big water guy. I'm not a fan of water.
I get it, man. You're not offending me, dude.
And here's the thing. I knew I couldn't guarantee to be a corpsman.
Yeah.
And the Navy doesn't guarantee you that. So I was like, okay, well, I want to be medical. The Navy's not going to guarantee me that. And I'm not a big water guy, so I don't want to do that. The Marines don't have